you can hear me through this, but it's a way to cut onions without like watering up. So you just get a hoodie, you put a little pot holder in there. It actually works pretty good for a mask, though it's starting to fog up. But hey, I'm gonna see you guys in 2 minutes and 27 seconds. Whew. I don't like that. Well, hey, 30 Days to Amazers. Welcome to day 19. So great to have you guys with us. Hope you guys are doing well today. It's Friday, our third Friday of 30 Days to Amaze. Hope you guys have great plans for the weekend. And I hope you guys have a great Friday. I almost said Friday for the third time in a row, but I didn't say Friday. I thought about it, but I decided not to. All right, got some things to cover today. I want to talk really quickly about the email that went out this morning about mantras, your mantra. And I don't know if you guys have those or not, but I think it's a nice little tool to remind you of the goals that you have for yourself, remind you of the desired outcome that you're trying to bring about in your life. And sometimes a quick little saying is more than just a cute little phrase. It's actually can be a very powerful tool to remind you why you're doing what you're doing. It can remind you to maybe say no to the key lime cookies because you're going for something that's a greater good. Maybe it's just a one word. I don't know. Have you done those trendy sort of one word things of the year? I tried this last year. I put this in the email too, and my word of the year last year was persevere. And when I crafted this January 1st of 2020, I had no idea the year that 2020 was going to be. And it really, sometimes I just looked at that bracelet. It was just a reminder to me. I kept it on every single day. I actually had two bracelets, two different versions of it. So one would get kind of skanky, then I would switch them out. But I had that on every single day. And sometimes I just had to look at that just to kind of remind myself to just keep on going, keep on swimming, swimming. And so it was just a reminder to me to just keep persevering, to keep showing up every single day. And it really helped. It was powerful. My one for this year, by the way, is just one word: Hope. I don't know if you can see that or not. You probably can't. I'm looking. Well, anyway, it's one word on there, and it's hope. And that reminds me that just I want to be an agent of hope in a very sort of hopeless, dark, dim world. I want to be reminded of, hey, everything that I post, everything that I say, my actions will be I'll be an agent of hope. I'll be a multiplier of hope. I feel like that's what the world needs more than anything right now. And I don't want to add to the chaos. I want to be someone, not just for positive sake, but enough about me. But that's just an example of a one word mantra. But maybe I had some examples of that as well for you, and I've had these are all from clients, so they're not trademarked. And if you just craft one of those, I say, man, put it on your desktop of your computer. Put it on post-it notes all over your kitchen, all over your bathroom mirror, all over your scale. But put it everywhere. So it's not only a reminder to you, but maybe people that you live with. It's a reminder to them, like, hey, the reason that mom is on this crazy diet or she's doing these changes to her life. It's like, oh, I'm reminded of, like, I want to be a participant and I want to be an encouragement to her. And so it's a powerful reminder to you and also to other people as well too. But don't feel free if those examples resonate with you. They're not copywritten, so, and they don't have to be long and sexy and nifty and rhyming and all that kind of stuff. My mantra that's not on my wrist, I have a kind of a little phrase that I use. And if I tell you it, I'm going to tell you it, but I'm going to give you a preface of it that it is so unsexy. It is so uncool. So here it is. Make a small change every week. Yeah, I really can't really put that on a t-shirt, right? I mean, like, make a small change every week. That's kind of my health mantra. So you know what my health goal this week is to improve my sleep. So I bought a $40 pillow. That's what I did. I think I talked about that yesterday, but that was my health goal for the week. Done. Now, if I ever have a new pillow, no one's going to look at me and say, oh my gosh, Chris, what have you been doing? You look good. Did you get a new pillow? And so these teeny little goals that I set for myself every week to just make a small change every week. I think the week before that was, I can't even remember, but 1 week, maybe last year, I switched from organic broccoli to, or from non-organic broccoli to organic broccoli. And so again, no one said, wow, you look amazing. Man, there's just an extra bounce in your step. Have you switched to organic broccoli? But my point is, if I do 52 of those small changes over a year's time, I'm going to look really different in a year's time. If I do that for 2 years, making a small change every week, now I've got 104 small changes that are starting to compile on each other, and you're not even going to recognize me in a year from now or 2 years from now. So that's my unsexy mantra, but it keeps me on this health journey. So what is your mantra? If you haven't figured one out yet, I think it can be a powerful tool. And if you want to tell us about it, craft one out. And if you got a picture of it, that would be great. Post that. That's going to get you 10 bonus points. So man, you can really go up the leaderboard with 10 points, and that might make all the difference in you and getting a prize. But not only just a prize at the end of this, but getting a prize for yourself. So anyway, enough about mantras. I am going to, without further ado, bring in my buddy Joshua Brown, and he is the creator and founder of Joshua Brown Wellness. I think I got that right, but I just met him on the internet not too long ago, and he's when we started talking, I'm like, man, this guy is like my brother from another mother. Let me see. I pull him up. All right. Let me get him in here. So we will have questions for him. Oh, you know what? I just hit the wrong button. And let me try this again. Probably just seeing a black, uninspiring screen right now. Oh, there it is. Okay, let's see if that worked. There he is. Oh, by the way, we did not plan this color-coordinated thing. It's just in the cards for today. So orange hoodies is the uniform of the day. So, Josh, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
All
Can you hear
right.
me?
I can hear you. You look and sound amazing, dude. So, hey, thanks for being a part of our group today. I got a bunch of questions to run by you. But, hey, first of all, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, where do you live and where are you from and family stats, just kind of the basic cliff notes of who you are.
All right. So I live in Carlisle, Saskatchewan, Canada, just north of the border. I'd be right north, about an hour and a half north of Minot, North Dakota. So We lived here for 6 years now. I work for full time for actually a utility company as a lineman, power lineman. Um, I have three girls, Brielle, Evangeline, and Serafina. And Brielle's 8. Evie is 6, and now Serafina is 3. So I've got
Hey, I want to
the
encourage
big.
all of you, if you're not following Joshua on Instagram or Facebook, do that. If for no other reason, just to look at his adorable three little girls. They are really, really cute. So, all right, enough about that.
And yeah, so we I don't know. Should I just jump right into what do you want me to jump into here?
How about you? I mean, one of the questions I want to ask you is just kind of give us your quick little health story. What got you interested in health concepts? Because I mean, if you don't know already, this guy knows a ton of stuff. So either you're an alien or you've just kind of been working on this stuff for a while. And so I just want to hear kind of your overall health journey. So why don't you share that with us?
Right, so I've kind of always been a fact guy. I like to find out what the truth is, even when people are telling me kind of what the way things are. I like to kind of check up on it, but I never really started doing that for myself, health wise, for until probably 4 years ago, 5 years ago. I was a typical active young guy. Uh, didn't really have any health issues. Didn't realize that a can of Coke or two a day actually would affect me eventually. And so we ended up moving to Kindersley before we moved to Carlisle here for 3 years. And I was kind of, my diet changes were starting to catch up on me, but I didn't really realize it yet. I started going to a gym like religiously 5 or 6 times a week, that's a positive thing taken in isolation, right? But I had all of these things that were kind of coming together. I didn't realize I was one of those people that gluten isn't very good for me. I didn't realize that dairy doesn't do me any favors either. That's the things I was eating every meal, right? And so, stressing my body with my diet. I had a job that it was partly my own issues but it was stressful for me to be on the crew that I was on. Uh, I wasn't sleeping good either. We had just had Brielle. So instead of working out when I got home, which was what I'd normally do, I would wait until she went to bed, right? And so an 8 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock workout time, like intense workout, is not good for sleep. And I was also, again, unaware, taking free workouts at like 6 o'clock and just being jacked up and I was digging myself a big hole and not even really realizing it, using caffeine and pre-workouts to kind of basically fuel myself. And so then 11:30 to 12 at night was when I'd be going to bed, right? But I had to be at work at 7 in the morning, so I'm up at 6 and just slowly digging that hole for myself. And I ended up having actually like memory lapses. Like it was pretty scary. I'd be doing a job that I'd done many times before, and just the next step would just be out of my head. And the first couple of times it happened, it was kind of like, again, same thing, a gradual thing. But the first couple of times it happened, it was like kind of disconcerting. And then kind of developed like almost this anxiety about it happening again. And so I worked on a crew of guys. So when this stuff starts happening, like there's people around you, right? Like you're gonna get called out type thing if you're standing around not doing what you're supposed to be doing. And so I started having like this weird anxiety about having these memory lapses, and I really didn't know what was going on. Side note, I was that guy who, if I missed a meal, I would get shaky and like break out in like cold sweats
Hmm.
and like be done. I'd have to eat something or I'd have to ride it out. And and so that was, again, I thought that was normal. Not normal at all. And so
Mm-hmm.
fast forward a couple years, I ended up on a road crew, and we work in stupid hours, like 16 to 18-hour days. And then what's open after that to eat for supper when you're on the road? Like Taco Bell, like stuff like that. So you're so hungry. I'd be buying like two Taco Bell meals, going to my hotel room, crushing it, and then going to sleep. Like so terrible, so terrible. And so that was basically the crescendo of like my unhealthiness. And I ended up, well, you can see from that picture I think Chris had up there that I was getting towards. You can see my face is all inflamed, carrying more weight than I ever carried in my life. Um, and the next picture is after a couple of years of kind of learning these principles and things about nutrition that are just they're principles for a reason. You disobey them at your own peril,
Hmm.
uh, and really just I lucked out because my job that I have now full time is I do a lot of driving, and so I discovered podcasts, and I realized I've realized that I kind of have a skill for finding like the experts in different areas. And so I don't know if that's an intuition type thing or I don't know. I seem to be able to find the people that are good at what they do. And so I really started out with like um, Weston A. Price Foundation and like realizing that and learning and looking into I bought Weston A. Price's book, which is a heavy read. It's called Physical and Nutritional Degeneration. Like it's a heavy read, but it's fascinating because
Hmm.
it teaches you that um, fat soluble vitamins are super important. And where do you find these fat soluble vitamins? In animal foods and animal fat. Um, Processed food. He documented what happens to people when they start eating these processed foods. In one generation, you can destroy your children's health if you are prioritizing processed foods while you're pregnant with your kid and after pregnancy, and then they start eating those foods. You can totally actually change the structure of children. And so that's not to make people feel bad, but it's just to really show that you have a lot of power in your nutrition and the things that you choose to put in your body.
Hmm.
So that's kind of the journey that I'm on that journey partly because of myself, but partly because I have a family, right?
Yeah.
And I want my kids to be healthy and to excel in the world. And we're definitely not perfect with how we feed our kids, but it's like we're trending in the right way, right? We're
Yeah.
trending excellence and realizing that we're human and that we can't just be perfect all the time.
Yeah. You got that right. Oh, that's inspiring. I got a couple follow-up questions for you. Like when you first, I think it's categorized as like brain fog, but you talk kind of about those like memory lapses. How old were you at the time when you were starting having those?
I would have been 22 or 23.
Oh my gosh. So young man, what did you chalk that up to? Because I mean, I think if that happens when you're 80, you're like, oh, it's just because I'm old or getting old. We hear this all the time, but you know, to have that at 23, did you think that was unusual, or what were you thinking that was what was causing all that?
So for myself, I've always been one of those like, and this is actually a character flaw. I was always a guy who would internalize external things. So really, I just thought something's wrong with me, like
Hmm.
me, as in like something's wrong with me, who I am. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what to think about it.
Yeah. Man, that's powerful as well too, because that's kind of the narrative of modern Western medicine is that there's something wrong with you. You know, like we almost all of us, if you have a symptom that's something that you don't want in your health journey, it's well, something's wrong with you. I mean, obviously something's wrong with me, but it's like you have insert condition, you know. And I think that what I just appreciate about your approach was like, okay, there's something wrong with me, but there might be something that's causing it. I just didn't wake up one day just flawed. I just didn't start having brain fog at age 22 and 23. Like there had to be some input that's doing that, and that requires a lot more investigation than. And I just applaud you for taking that journey
Yeah.
because like those answers don't come as quick sometimes, because you have to go hunting and searching and researching and like I said, being a detective. And some people it's just easier to like just whatever the doctor told me. And it sounds like I'm ripping on doctors. I'm not, but I'm just saying like I care more about my body and how I feel every day than anyone that I ever pay is going to think because I'm going to go to their office for the 8-minute visit that I get and they're going to forget me in a New York minute. But I got to live with this 24/7, so I better figure out what causes what. If A is causing B, then I need to figure out what A is and how I can change A so B is different. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, it's that's the truth that everyone needs to realize is that no one cares more about your health than you. Um, Doctors have been indoctrinated to treat symptoms. So if you go to them and say, "I have acid reflux," they're going to give you a prescription.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when most of these conditions are actually, I won't say they're all cured by diet and lifestyle, but they're greatly helped with diet and lifestyle, and a lot of them can be getting rid of just by basically educating yourself because um, there's a whole world of things that happened before the 1930s in the allopathic model. So
Hey Josh, you talked about well, you're if you haven't heard in his voice, by the way, he's got a little bit of an accent, and he says words like processed. And if that sounds funny to you, I want to submit to you that everyone in America says processed the wrong way. And I'm actually trying to speak more in the Queen's English. I'm trying to say more words like processed because that's how it's produced. Like we don't say like production or I'm going to, the store to get some produce, right? So we only say it in certain words, and like I don't know why we say process. That's just so lame. So anyway, I'm trying to kind of rework myself with this, but anyway, back to you as a Canadian. I think you're only our lone Canadian in the group this go around. I don't know if you get United States TV. You were talking about acid reflux, and I was thinking about that. Like, how many Americans know, quote unquote, know that they have acid reflux because they saw a commercial? And I don't think it's like that in Canada because I'm not saying you guys have a perfect healthcare system, but in America here in the United States, we're one of 3 countries that
it's a big problem.
it makes it illegal or legal to have direct to consumer marketing with pharmaceuticals. So, you're watching the Super Bowl and all of a sudden, hey, do you have symptoms of acid reflux? I don't even know what that is, but oh yeah, I've got this indigestion, I've got digestive problems, and it says you need this purple pill. And does that seem funny to you Canadians that we do that, or do you kind of wish that you had more direct to consumer advertising in your country like we do?
Kind of like this low level subliminal messaging is what it really is. I mean, it is programming. It's called programming for a reason.
Yeah.
Like it's it's the people who don't. It's basically if you're unaware of a condition, and obviously you're unaware of the solution too, right?
Hmm.
And then offers you a solution to a condition that you don't even have. Like, what does that do to your brain? Like, it's that is a big seed being planted into your head. And like we literally have drugs that are for us from cradle to the grave. So I think it's a problem. It's the only thing worse than that is advertising sugar to kids.
Does that happen in Canada as well too, or are
I
sugar
don't.
cereals kind of popular up there, or do you?
Yeah, I would say that that part is similar. But the drugs direct to consumer for drugs is I don't. It's not. I don't think it's maybe like product placement and things, but it's not.
Yeah,
It's not out here. I don't think.
gotcha. Hey,
What?
I want to ask you quickly about. Do you have any kind of personal mantra? I mean, it's not necessary. It's not a requirement for anyone in this group, but I just wondered if you ever had one, or if words of the year or anything like that has ever helped you.
Yeah. So I had last year. I did. My word was deeper,
Hmm.
and that was. in regards to like the big bent for that was like my spirituality, getting into the Bible and the Word and praying,
Hmm.
and uh, also just in how I learn. I'm very good at taking information and remembering certain facts that kind of are important, but that's kind of a surface level knowledge, really. Um,
Yeah,
how do you
that's
apply?
awesome.
Because
Yeah.
if you know a bunch of facts but you can't apply it, or like just oh, good to know, or like oh, cool story, bro.
Yeah.
Thing.
Hey, one of the other things you said earlier that I kind of want to touch on, you were talking about, you mentioned the inflammation in your face went down. And I always think that's really kind of crazy. Like when you see before and after pictures of people, I mean, sometimes people do the whole body shots, and, I do those. There's plenty of shirtless pictures of fat Chris and less fat Chris on the internet and stuff. But that's the thing that always amazes me is like the drainage, how the less swelling, the less inflammation that happens in people's faces. And I think about this like it's not because I started working out, because I didn't go to the gym and do the face machine, to get such a like incredible face. Like I don't maybe there is a face machine. I didn't get any cool sculpting or, injections or dejections or whatever it is like that, but just changing your lifestyle and your habit and having exercise a part of that. Just amazing how face inflammation can decrease. Has that ever confounded you? Or have you ever taken note of that before?
I definitely notice it when I see someone, especially a person who is relatively lean with a really puffy face. I I immediately think that person's really unhealthy.
Yeah. Hmm.
And
And by the way,
and
I've seen, and you've probably seen this, like I've seen bodybuilders, right? So they look like their bodies are awesome, but yeah, you just see a inflamed like face. I'm like, yeah, I don't know if what's going on internally might be the best thing either, too. So,
those guys are manipulating water in their body like crazy.
yeah, exactly. All right, hey, I wanted to have you on for a lot of reasons. I mean, everything that you shared with us so far has been awesome, but I had a conversation with a friend, and I think this might be relevant to kind of your expertise, and I think you'd have some interesting things to say about that. So I was talking with this friend just a couple days ago, and speaking of doctors, went to the doctor, and he got kind of bad news, and it came in the form of like three major areas. And so I'll kind of tell you what all of them are, and then maybe we can kind of touch on each one individually, and if you have any kind of advice or just maybe how you would handle that. But I'll just kind of give you the general overview. So this guy goes to the doctor, had some tests done, right? So blood work, the blood work comes back, and it was these three categories. Okay, you're probably pre-diabetic. You're getting really up there in your blood sugar, which was confusing to him because this is a guy who eats a lot of like meat, and he's pretty close to keto kind of lifestyle. So anyway, there was that marker. So the doctor says, "Hey, we probably need to get you on some medication to get that blood sugar down, so you don't go over to full bore diabetes." The other one was that his cholesterol was high, right? So his cholesterol was super high, so the doctor recommended getting put on a statin. So maybe you can talk about what that is. And then the last thing was, hey, your testosterone is super low for a guy, so recommending, I think, monthly hormone injections of testosterone. So, that's, I know I threw a lot at you there, but maybe just take one. So I guess you can come at this two ways. Maybe you can just kind of, we can talk about each one of those in particular, but let's say Joshua Brown goes to the doctor's office, and Joshua Brown gets some blood work done, and you came back and you heard this that you're pre-diabetic. I mean, what would kind of your response be? I mean, what would you do?
So I would want to know so that I'd be diagnosing myself. So I'm gonna pretend like I'm this like fairy floating on my shoulder telling Josh what to do.
Yeah.
So to be pre-diabetic, you have to have insulin resistance. So like your pre-diabetes is kind of it's really almost like an arbitrary thing because it's like, well, you look like your body is acting like it has diabetes, but you're not at a certain level yet, so we're not going to call you a diabetic. So then you pass this magic number, and all of a sudden you're diabetic. So but really the issue is insulin resistance. So I would tell myself to ease this. I'm on the right track. If I'm eating lots of like, if you're looking for quality meat and you're eating all that type of stuff. So what I would ask myself is what else is going on? Um, is my 20% of food or 30% of food, is it just like garbage carbs, like garbage?
Hmm.
I stole that from Jimmy Moore. Is am I eating a lot of garbage and um, what type of oils am I cooking with? Because actually, vegetable oils have been shown to contribute to insulin resistance.
Hmm.
So um, that's actually really, really sneaky because you would never think that a fat could cause insulin resistance because a high fat diet is one of the things that you get given to deal with insulin resistance. Um, Also, what type of measurements did that doctor do? Did he do like that snapshot in time type thing where maybe my blood sugar levels are dysregulated because I had a terrible night's sleep? So, like, you can miss one night of sleep and actually have the same blood sugar profile as pre-diabetic.
That's interesting
Or
that you said that because he did mention to me. I mean, this guy. I mean, he's a pretty keto-y kind of guy, but he said, yeah, there was about 2 months probably preceding that doctor's appointment where we went off the rails a little bit, and got right back on it. But do you think like 2 months of binging on maybe some stuff that's not good would cause those tests to go haywire?
there's also this area that um, conventional doctors really know. Like, I don't know it completely, but basically, your body becomes very, very insulin sensitive if you are like really like a keto guy. And so, if you were to do a glucose challenge test, because your glucose levels are usually so low, um, you look like you're a diabetic,
Hmm.
but you're not. You're just extremely insulin sensitive. Um, so that's another thing I'd like to know what kind of test he was given. Um, Going off the rails, when if you're a keto guy and you go off the rails, when I think of that, I'm like, okay, he just for 2 months he basically was. That's that could be really really damaging depending on what he was doing. Um, because you're just basically driving the it probably the main issue that you went keto in the first place, right?
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
keto, did to keto for a reason, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Better on keto for a reason. And it's probably for all the reasons that the doctor was concerned now. Um, so next, I kind of did a little bit of. Well, I'll let you push me in the direction you want me to go in.
Yeah, well, okay, let's talk about the statin cholesterol thing. And by the way, this is why it's kind of good to frame this question and like, hey, this everything that you know, Joshua, and let's say this happened to you. That, we're not giving medical advice here, so I just want to make sure. And I'm not worried about getting sued or anything like that, but just like, hey, it's just part of that sort of empowering you and what would happen. This is what I would do. And again, it's like if you take Joshua's advice and you look at his before and after pictures and like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about a little bit. Sometimes that can be inspiring. So anyway, that's the disclaimer with all of this. Like, what would you do? So let's put that scenario to the test. So you go to the doctor, Joshua, and the doctor says, okay, your cholesterol is out of control and you need to get on a statin immediately. So what would your response to that be, knowing everything that you know right now?
So I did a little like just very quick research on this because I wanted to make sure I wasn't talking out of nowhere. And so like I'll just read a little tiny bit here. This is from Weston A. Price Foundation website, which is a huge resource for lots of this stuff. 25 to 30 years ago, any middle-aged man whose cholesterol is over 240, which would be outrageous nowadays, and they had other risk factors, including smoking and being really overweight. So now that 240 um, combined with these other risk factors, now they're starting to get concerned, right? Then they would get some sort of medication or be told that they need to reduce their cholesterol. Uh, So 1984, the parameters changed. Anyone over 200 would receive a diagnosis and get a pill. Recently, that was moved down to 180. So that's total cholesterol. So what we know now, and I would, if you're really worried about this and your doctor told you that you're gonna die or have a heart attack type thing, I would really, I would either really educate yourself and take action based on what you learn, or I would find a functional medical medicine practitioner
Hmm.
or naturopath who is, or someone like who has that training and that experience. Um, because really, our doctors are really good at acute care. So you cut yourself, you break your arm, you get in a car accident. They're really good at that. Um, Chronic lifestyle solutions, chronic lifestyle fix, not so much. They'll be giving you an acute solution to a chronic issue. That's what drugs are. So um, so now if you have over 180 total cholesterol, which really is a misnomer, total cholesterol doesn't much. You're going to get a statin. And so the funny thing about statins, and interrupt me if you want me to go in a different direction, statins have lots of side effects like muscle pain, restless legs. They cause they cause muscle issues, and I'll just have this here. So they deplete coenzyme Q10, which is necessary. Um, that can include muscle wasting, severe back pain, heart failure. Remember, the heart is a muscle, and neuropathy, inflammation in the tendons and ligaments, and can lead to ruptures in those tendons and ligaments. So this statin is supposed to prevent you from having a heart attack, and it can actually cause a heart attack, or it can cause muscle pain. And now you're going to get this pain. And where are you going to go when you have this chronic pain in your lower back? Back to the doctor, right?
Mm.
You're going to go to the doctor. I have pain. They're going to give you another. See, it's just this like, it's this treadmill of diagnosis, drug, uh, alleviate one symptom, get another symptom, and that's kind of what our system has become good at,
Yeah.
because they really don't have an answer for a chronic health condition.
Yeah. Hey, I don't know what it's like in Canada, by the way, but we have every 5 years our government comes out with the United States USDA dietary guidelines. All right, so here's like the latest research for 5 years, and our government is going to tell us sort of, here's the latest findings, here's what you're going to do. And so in 2015, this came out in the USDA's dietary guidelines for our country. All right, so this is a government agency that said this, and it said this, and I quote, dietary cholesterol is no longer a nutrient of concern. And it kind of got lost in the shuffle. Like, what did they just say? It's like, yeah, basically, we've told you that cholesterol is going to give you heart disease for the last 70 years, and oops, it's no longer a nutrient of concern. It's like, wow. Now, a lot of doctors haven't gotten that memo yet, but we've just been told this just lie that cholesterol, which is just a necessary building block of every cell in our body, that it's going to kill us. And I can understand why they think this. And this has kind of been like if you're a heart surgeon and someone's having heart surgery, you cut them open, and then sure enough, you look at their arteries and they are full of cholesterol, and it's clogging arteries. And you're thinking, oh gosh, look at all that cholesterol in there. It's clogging arteries. This must be the reason, that everyone's dying of heart attacks because they're eating too many eggs. But I've heard this analogy. It's like it's kind of, rather than pouring grease down a pipe. That's kind of like the analogy like of what cholesterol has been for the last 50, 60, 70 years. But really what you're doing, the higher processed foods that you eat, the higher sugar that you eat, all these like seed oils, the unholy trinity of foods that we've talked about ad nauseum every day, when you're putting these down your pipes, it's like corrosive material. It's like you're pouring acid down your pipes and you're getting perforations in your arteries, and cholesterol senses that, and cholesterol wants to go and patch those holes up and save your butt. And I just think that's kind of a different way to look at fat and cholesterol. And I feel like the whole narrative about that has just been wrong for the last decades. And I don't know why we're still prescribing statins if dietary cholesterol is no longer a nutrient of concern. But
They're, they're one of and then what they said in this article too was that children are even being put on statins.
hmm,
And I heard a good analogy for this too. It was like if there's a fire and the firefighters come, would you say that the firefighters started the fire?
well, they're there obviously.
Yeah, they're there.
Firemen cause fires.
Yeah, firemen cause fires because they're at this every single time,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
Well, really, cholesterol they are the firefighters. There's inflammation caused in our body, and I would tend to lean on if I was going to pick a macronutrient of concern, I would pick processed carbohydrates and sugar as causing inflammation, or again, like other drugs, or sleep habits. Like their cholesterol is necessary. Like if you're a dude and you want to be like operating and functioning properly, you need cholesterol because cholesterol is the backbone for all of our hormones, including women too. You need them to have estrogen and testosterone on the. I hope you don't hear that pounding on the roof. Um, you need them for your hormones. If you don't have them, if you don't have cholesterol, you'll die.
yeah,
And so you get put on these statins. They drop your cholesterol down, and they say, "Oh, you're at 100," or I don't even know how low they'll drop it. Um, Now in our medical system's eyes, you're not at risk for heart disease, but every other single area, and this does not exclude heart disease, your all-cause mortality goes up. The lower your cholesterol goes, the higher your all-cause mortality goes up. And so it's one of those things where I wish they would explain these things to people before they would just say, take this thing for the rest of your life.
yeah, yeah. Speaking of the direct-to-consumer marketing of pharmaceuticals, they do put the side effects in there. It's like, man, is anyone listening to these side effects? I mean, you named a couple of them. I mean, who says, man, I want that drug? You know, give me that restless leg syndrome. Give me the, muscle pain. Give me the backaches. Oh, yeah, it sounds great. And all the people in the advertisements are just having the best old time,
Yeah.
living their best life, and so it's, like I said, it's a treadmill that we got to get off of. We got to figure out, I think collectively as a nation and as a world, but, just as individuals, we got to like, first of all, start to own our health and also just like, diagnose what is going on. If we're having any kind of ill
Yeah.
symptom, to figure out like what is causing that, and is there anything in my power, anything that I can do to change the trajectory of that. And again, it might not happen overnight. I mean, if someone goes to the doctor and their triglycerides are way off the chart and they're like, well, I'm just going to stop eating donuts for one day, and then, oh, it doesn't happen like the next day, like, it's still pretty high. I mean, we got to have patience with the stuff. Our body knows how to reset. Our bodies know how to heal if we just give them time, and again, we just give them the right inputs. By the way, back to triglycerides, that was the good news, that my friend who went to the doctor said his triglycerides were looking awesome. And so that for me, and I'm not a blood panel expert at all. I don't really know the numbers very well, but that's really good news, I think. I don't know if you can verify that, but if your triglyceride numbers are low, that's probably the biggest precursor to some
So
major health problems.
so his total cholesterol was high, but his triglycerides were low, and his doctor told him he should be worried.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, get on a stat. That's why they call them statins, right? Get on a stat. So,
So likely, so I I think the carnivore diet is a tool. I don't
mhm.
necessarily think we should live there, but a lot of people are doing really good with it. So I'll prove wrong. But um, what they're really showing, they're really breaking a lot of these paradigms that we've taken for granted. So there's guys that um, their cholesterol is like doctors would look at them and say you should fall over dead tomorrow type thing because your
Mhm.
cholesterol. And we have people that have been doing carnivore for 10, 15, 20 years. They kind of came out of the woodwork because now it's becoming acceptable or more acceptable to eat that way. and their numbers are they've been functioning, performing, feeling amazing for a long time with really high cholesterol. So
Mm-hmm.
I really think that to think that 180 is this magic number, or whatever the doctor thinks over 200 is this magic number, you have, well, you know, from the stuff that you've learned, that it's the ratio of HDL to LDL is more important than your total cholesterol.
Yeah.
And the only way you ever get that ratio figured out is if you actually take a special test that tells you your particle size. And so now they're even finding out that these small dense LDL, or I think they're called VLDL, very low density particle.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they're finding that these probably aren't as bad as they thought they were.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting how um, it's interesting to follow some of these people who are more extreme, because they'll
Joshua, are you saying that the science is not settled? Are you saying that? Because
anyone
I thought the science was settled. I keep hearing that phrase. Like mic drop, end of story. We've got this figured out now.
anyone who says that, you should run far away from them.
Yeah,
Run.
for sure. Yeah, I heard it in a psychiatry context once, but it was yesterday's psych book is today's joke book, but I think
Well,
that applies definitely to
the
medical
only
profession. It's like it's just amazing. Like I mean, I'm not that old, but just like every kid my age was getting their tonsils taken out every time, like even if they weren't sick. It's just like, well, we just got to get rid of these tonsils because they cause like this illness. I mean, this is in my lifetime. And I could probably think of many examples in my own lifetime. You don't have to go hundreds of years back when they bloodlet people with leeches to say, oh, the science is settled, or, did lobotomies to try to help mental illness. I mean, we laugh at that stuff now, but what makes us think that in 2021 we are at the pinnacle and we know everything and the science is settled? It really irks me, that more doctors and more of us don't have a little bit more humility when it comes to this stuff and just say, hey, this is the best available science that we got right now, but subject to change. And we're going to look at this in a couple of years and probably go, man, we sure had that wrong.
Well, for example, people who have conditions like autoimmune conditions, or any condition that's actually any condition, if you will do the work and research it, you will know more than your doctor.
Hmm.
That's You will. If you spend like, there's certain issues that I've spent many hours on. Um, I know that I know more than the average doctor, and it's not me trying to be confident or cocky or anything like that. It's just they have, what is it, 12 minutes per patient. Like, they don't have time to learn. They don't have time to be up on the latest science, and that's why the mainstream medicine is 12 years behind alternative medicine.
Mm-hmm. And that's empowering. It's empowering that, first of all, we have the resources we have access to information in the palm of our hands or on our computer screen that we can be diligent and find whatever we can. But like, yeah, like I said, not to be cocky, but man, I care more about my health than anybody does, especially my doctor that they're going to see me once every 3 or 4 months for 8 minutes. So it's like that I can know more than that person knows. I can become an expert in my own health, and that's really empowering, I think. So I'm glad you said that. Hey, let's go on to the very last subject. This one was a little bit of a minor concern of his, but it still might be important. So his testosterone levels were low, and I think he was thinking, or maybe the doctor told him, like, this is probably why you're not losing weight as fast, and maybe you're having some problems sexually. Maybe it's hard to get it up, things like that. We don't have to get too in the weeds with that, about personal details or anything like that, but it's a common occurrence with men or middle-aged men. And so is it because of low testosterone levels? And is the answer testosterone injections? So if you went to the doctor and the doctor told you that you had low testosterone and was recommending injections, what would you do?
So I think that before anyone does TRT, like, there are people that that should do it. Um, I think that again, like your sleep better be on point. Um, I would also ask like, where does this guy carry his weight? Is he like a lean, ripped machine, or is he kind of got the paunch going on? Like, so for people who have like, if you look at a guy who's pretty like, he's obviously not fat, and then he turns and looks at you, and he's got that big beer gut. Well, that's visceral fat, and that's terrible for you. And likely you are, and especially if they start to carry their weight on their hips, they're becoming estrogen dominant, which means that giving those type of guys TRT is a disaster because they're going to be aromatizing that estrogen and or that testosterone and turning it into estrogen.
Mm-hmm.
You got to start to get the lifestyle piece right. If you've got your sleep on check, you've got your you know that you're metabolically flexible, so like you can burn fat, and obviously we can always burn sugar. But if you can't fast, you can't burn fat. Um, I don't think you have any business being on tier.
Hmm.
Um, and then, oh dang, lost my train of thought. But yeah, so you got to get these lifestyle pieces down, and then if you're still like that, if you're still struggling, and again, I would recommend an alternative health person because they're gonna look at your whole situation and not just say, let's give you this to improve this symptom.
Mm-hmm.
Because really,
Can I stop you there for a second because I think that's so important. We haven't talked much about this. In my personal, I've never been to a functional medicine doctor. I just haven't. But I know people that have. And I'm not sure how it works in Canada, but we have to pay out of pocket for that here. And those things are expensive here.
yeah,
But I just want to say, folks, again, we talked about investments into your health. I mean, if there's something inside of you that's not resonating with what your doctor is telling you, and who cares? I know it's easier said than done because I know we live in the real world and finances are a part of it. And maybe you have a $20 copay to go see your doctor, and you only get to pay $5 per prescription because of copays, and you're like, well, I can afford that. I would strongly suggest, go into a functional medicine doctor, pay the $350 for a 4 hour consultation, or pay the $3,000 it is to get in their program. I mean, what it is, I don't know, but I know it's expensive, but you're worth it. You are worth that investment. And so I just want to echo what Joshua said. I mean, go see a functional medicine doctor that was going to, and they're not weirdos. They're not witchcrafty. They're not gonna I don't think they're gonna shake some, you know, rattle
you can
over your head or something like that. The most of them are going to spend hours and hours and hours with you, really looking at all of these lifestyle patterns, and like I said, just taking piece at a time and going over that. Anyway, didn't mean to go on that tangent, but I'm just glad you mentioned that. So,
well think for example what just increased in the United States, insulin. It went from I saw one lady saying her insulin bill was uh, $90 a month for her son,
mm-hmm.
and they're health conscious and they're act like that's a low amount. He said it went from $90 to I think 600. It's
Hmm.
just an insane increase. So if you're gonna start, let's say it's even just $300, um, pay that for 20 years, and how much money is that? Um,
Yeah. And by the way, if you
it's
haven't heard, I mean, it's interesting you mentioned that too, because I think, well, 2 years ago, I think it was $18,000 a year to treat type 2 diabetes. $18,000 a year. And so, yeah, you multiply that by 20 years, and first of all, you're probably going to take 20 years off of your life, so that's no good. But we're talking like hundreds and thousands of dollars. And by the way, this is exactly why our military, again, when I say our, I keep leaving Canada out of this. Maybe you guys got it all better, but the United
sure.
States military has said that the biggest threat to the military is not North Korea, it's not Iran, it's not any kind of nuclear, threat. It's our
Yeah.
healthcare system. That is the biggest threat because it's going to bankrupt us by 2040. So in 19 years, we're going to have none money. None. Because all of it's going to be going to escalating medical costs to treat type 2 diabetes and other medical things that are totally reversible and totally diet related degenerative diseases. So get healthy, not just for you, but for your country. Be patriot. Do that. So,
You get healthy for your kids because
mhm.
they're going to live the example that you're showing them. So you model health to them every day. Um, and if you're not like you, every kid's got to take responsibility for themselves at some point, right? But you don't want your kids to be the kids that are angry at their parents because their parents didn't show them better. And it's like I waited till my like Brielle would have been 2 or 3. And like for example, here's a concrete example of what a slow progression of health, how it shows up. Kendall, my wife, gained 80 pounds with Brielle and during her pregnancy. With Evie, she gained 60 pounds. With Serafina, she gained 40 pounds. And every one of those pregnancies got better too. And she was more active during them. And it's like it's just really interesting how you can see these things and yeah, I don't know. I that's part of what drives me is I want my kids put it this way, my kids will never have the excuse that they don't know how to be healthy.
Yeah.
Their
Hmm.
choice, their own choices, but they're going to know how to be healthy because I showed them, and they'll understand what creates health. And it's not a drug, it's not a pill, it's not anything. It's food, lifestyle, movement, mindset, spirituality.
Man, I can't think of a better way to end it on that. So that's just really inspiring. Thank you for, hey, thanks for being in our group, not just today. And I super appreciate your time today. This is Joshua's day off, and he took his day off to serve. And that's one thing I love about you, Joshua, is like you are just such a servant, and you're always giving of yourself and trying to equip your audience with tools and with hope and with education. And anyway, you've been doing that in our group as well too. So we're just really thankful that you're a part of it. And again, thank you so much for taking your time today, man. So
Thanks for putting it on. I've enjoyed it.
yeah, it's been a fun, man. So we'll probably have to do this again sometime. So,
Yeah,
all
sure.
right, you guys. Well, hey, have an awesome, awesome weekend. And yeah, you're on your own for the weekend. So read those emails, catch up. There's another catch up day coming up soon. So if you need to go and
Cool.
watch some more videos, watch Josh's video like 3 or 4 times until this all sinks in.
And
And
this
go ahead.
feeling was from Frozen Pipe. So I know some of you are probably like, what is going on with his roof? We had to cut the roof open. Just I got the loop on that.
Yeah, fans of The Office. That looks like when Oscar came down out of the kind of the ceiling tiles. There's some. That's what I was thinking. So, all right, you guys. Thanks again.